Yo, kin folk and skin folk, what it do? We are here once again. Newbies, y'all not in the wrong place. Y'all perfectly good. Sit down, get comfortable. The lifers will tell you you are no other place than the Live Be Lifing podcast. Yeah. We are hosted by none other than the hostess with the mostest, the vivacious, the eclectic and electric, the wise, the witty, squishy gangster herself, Mimi, the goddess.
What it do? What is life when you call me a squishy gangster?
Yeah, maybe have to put some spec on your name.
For sure, I'll take it.
She is flanked by none other than your favorite fat freckled man, your favorite coach's favorite coach, and the big dog himself. Splash Charles. We are in the building once again, ladies, gentlemen, and others, however y'all wish to identify. We have a special guest with us here tonight, man. One of my podcast homies. If you missed the podcast link live show, you missed an event, man. It's the first one. We're gonna do another one. I'm telling you, we're gonna do another one. I called it. But it was the first one and it went off amazingly. Like what they say, okay? One of the people responsible for it going so well and even for helping craft it and put it together is right here with us tonight. The mere mortals may know him as Keith. But the ones in the know that this is Mr. Know It All.
Thank you. It is Mr. Know It All. Your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, even if you didn't know that he podcasted, as well as podcasting and multimedia's lovable smart ass.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. You already know. Appreciate you, nah. My man. Nutmeg Nah.
Oh, man, I knew it.
I'm sorry. I'm not.
So
I knew it.
I have to ask, did they let you change your name to Knockdown 9? What was the poll result?
Yo, they didn't even rock with it. That's the crazy part. They wanted to get rid of Nutmeg 9, then didn't want to go with the alternative. I'm like, what are we doing?
So wait, what was the alternative again?
The alternative, I put video of me knocking down jump shots, and I said, okay, well, let's go with Knockdown 9. So let's go, let's shift the basketball focus from the Nutmeg move to knocking down jump shots. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's all in the same round. He wasn't feeling it. The poll did not go the way I thought it was gonna go.
Can't win for losing.
Can't win for losing.
Yeah, Knockdown Nah is a little rough though. You know what I mean? I don't know if other grown men want to call other grown man Knockdown Nah is crazy. Like I don't know, man.
Listen, you're not gonna win with this. Like Nutmeg 9, Knockdown 9, just like it is what it is.
Go back to the drawing board.
I can't. I'm gonna just be coach. That's what it's gonna be. You know what I mean?
Coach.
We just gonna go with coach and go from there. But thanks for coming and joining with us tonight, bro. We gonna have a conversation about leadership. Like I said, he's one of the architects that we have for the podcast link live show. He runs his own podcast, the Mr. Know It All podcast, which you can find on all streaming platforms.
All streaming platforms, even the bootleg joints. It's like
feel me?
Pod Grid, where it's like not really a pod. You know what I mean? It's like everything shows up. The podcast plays backwards. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody was sitting on a stream and hitting the record button the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? They bootlegging them everywhere. But it's even on TubeView, which is crazy.
Damn.
I am not hip, but I probably need to get hip.
TubeView is not a real thing, y'all. At all. It's YouTube backwards. It's the bootleg ass TubeView. That's not real.
That one. You had me.
I was like, word? Y'all like, word.
I'm not gonna cap. I was like, what is that? I need to research this.
Oh man,
He was running down the field. I had to run with him. You know what I mean?
Say less. Even though I fumbled the ball back at the 50. just keep running with me, bro.
Just keep going. If they don't call no flags, we got it, bro.
Exactly.
Green. I completely lost that. Like, yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, we going. Yeah. But like I said, as somebody who's responsible for their own podcast, like like ourselves, somebody who's responsible for editing and things like that, and somebody who is a married man and a father.
Yes.
Automatically thrust into a leadership role in all these different forms. So that's why we're gonna have this conversation. I have that in my life. Mish has mentioned many times she's on the board. She's a mentor on the business side. She's a mentor of an athlete. So she understands leadership as well. Because on this podcast, we believe that women can be leaders as well. So we finna have this conversation. You know what I mean? And one of the first things I want to ask, bro, is what does leadership mean to you?
I think when I think about leadership, I have a few things that first come to mind when you mention that. I look at leadership as a privilege more than anything.
I like it.
Because it's almost like you get to have people follow suit. But also, I think about example. And the reason why I think about example is because I don't think that people just follow off a GP, and I don't think anybody just follow off of what you say. So your examples are always, the things that are, weigh the heaviest in those situations. But I feel like the best leaders, regardless whether they're good or bad, are the ones that are actually willing to do what they're asking of others. And leadership is it might be the hardest job in the world, because to believe it or not, I think that is us being a leader and being designated in that way is our closest identification to a higher power, to whatever that you believe in. You know what I mean? Like I honestly think that it's our way. They say imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Every leader is, especially, the higher up that you go, they're mimicking some form of power that ultimately lends itself to controlling something. And like I said, it could be good or it could be bad, but it's, there's always something to it. You know what I mean? You do, you show, you say, somebody listens, then essentially you're considered a leader.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. Mish, what you got for us, sis? What does leadership mean to you?
Being the oldest, I was kind of thrust into the leadership position from a very early age, and I learned. I know it's very cliche, but being a leader is leading by example. And much like Mr. Know-It-All said, if you're not willing to do what you're asking other people to do, then how can you lead anyone? So for me, it's just like being able to show yourself in your truest form, kind of be upfront, honest, open, very communicative. You have to be trustworthy as a leader, and you have to be willing to listen and communicate effectively with people to be a good leader. And if you're not those things, I mean, really, you having someone follow you is so subjective, because where are you leading them to? I know, like Nari said, I do lead an athlete, and one of the reasons why I took to her was because I saw so much of my older self in her, and I was like, there's no way in the world as a leader I can let her carry on with said characteristics and traits of her personality, knowing how detrimental that is. So for me as a leader, I had to bring my negatives to the forefront in order for her to bring her positives out. So if you're not making people better as a leader, you're really not leading anybody. And you use the word control. And to me, just thinking of the workforce, if you have to control people, you're really not leading them. Like, good leaders are able to get people to do things for them without some form of control or manipulation, because you are just that good as a leader. They trust you. And to me, like, that's what that means to me. Like, you got people that trust you. You know, you keep your word. You are willing to show yourself in all fullness, flat out, and just cultivate people's personalities and help them grow. That's leadership to me. But I've taken on leadership in so many different forms. I could go all day about this.
Right. Yeah.
I
I
agree
think
with
that
you both. Go ahead, bro.
just like a little pushback though, because I think that a lot of times when we mention like specific words and specific phrases that go into things, like when we say leadership and a factor of control, it doesn't always mean controlling people. It means controlling the outcome of a situation that involves people. So regardless whether it's about winning or losing, or whether it's about succeeding or failing, there has to be somebody that has the helm and controls. So look at anything else in the world and in life that's led: a train, a plane, a car. Somebody is controlling something that's leading what comes behind it, and it powers the entire situation. So like you said, just physically, when you get on a train and whatnot, you got the engine, you got the cars, and you got the caboose. There's only one thing that's controlling it, and it's not to say that the other things aren't important, because the majority of the time they feed to what's the effect that the controller compartment is having, but it's still a form of control. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't look at it like, a lot of times we take these phrases and then we make them into these taboo things, and we say, well, you can't control people. You shouldn't control people. Unfortunately, abusers control people, but abusers control people, manipulators control people, but a leader controls the situation. And I think that a lot of times what happens is that we gotta be able to control situations more than we're trying to control the people that are a part of them.
I like that. That was a good way to turn that
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
I mean, because, and again, things like control and manipulation are buzzwords, but when you look at the positive of those type of words that have been stigmatized as negative, the way you put it, that's an excellent put. Like, I like that pushback. That's kind of pushback I like.
Thank
you. Pause.
Oh, come on.
Yo, it's crazy that it was said that polite. I told you can't start doing that. I'm way too mature for that. You can't just
leave it to him.
The last time somebody said, I told you it'd be me. I'll be the one.
Last time somebody said to you, I like that pushback. Like, wow, crazy. Oh my goodness.
No, I think y'all both used words that I was going to use, as far as the stigmatization of words like control when referencing to lead, and how the connotations put around these words. That's why, I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna go with the definition that we have in the dictionary, right? I'm gonna throw that out there for folks to see, for folks to hear. So let's just go with the definition of lead, right? Because leadership is just going to tell you like the act of leading, or being in the position to lead, or something like that, right?
Right.
So let's go with what lead is, right? And one of the definitions, which is obvious, is to take somebody by the hand and move them forward, in the very literal sense. The other definition is be a route or means of access to a particular place or particular direction. And I think that speaks to what Keith was saying in terms of you're going somewhere, one way or the other, and somebody is controlling that outcome. Somebody is controlling or altering the journey towards whatever the destination is. And that's why I too was gonna offer an alternative, because as me said initially, it's where somebody's leading you that matters most, right? You can be a piss poor leader in terms that you don't help anybody get anywhere. As she said, you're not helping anybody get better. But the truth of the matter is, Effective leadership is helping you get somewhere. Is I'm in this position of leadership, taking you somewhere. It doesn't always have to be positive. It doesn't always have to be a
True.
good place. My leadership
Right.
is effective. If I'm leading you astray, you were a good person. You was all about your P's and Q's. You did what you
Right.
were supposed to do, and I want you to be corrupt. I want you to do things that benefit my agenda. And now that you do those things, my leadership was still effective. Now that you've become my puppet, now that you've acted in my employ, of negativity or corrupt behavior, it may be you doing the wrong thing. And I'm not necessarily making you better as a person, but I've effectively led you. I've put you on the route or direction to a destination. And that's important, right? Because we have leaders that throughout history have led people to do terrible things. I mean, Adolf Hitler is a perfect example, right?
First thing that came to my mind,
And the
Hitler,
first thing that
Stalin.
came to my mind, I'm glad I'm not the only
That's why I
one.
said it's an easy one. It's an easy one, right? Because we know he led people to do terrible things.
Right.
Whether it was the military or even just the people who believed in what he was giving up. Mind you, he wasn't authoritative in body or appearance. What he did was he came up with a strategy. What he came up with was something to believe in that turned one set of people against another set of people. Hey, I know you're struggling with these issues and you wish you had more of these resources. You know who has these resources and don't want you to have it? Them. Let's wipe them out because they shouldn't have it. We're the people who's supposed to have it. He went biblical on them. You know what I'm saying? He went biblical on them. We're the chosen people.
So let me ask
Us
you a question.
blonde hair, blue-eyed people are the chosen people. They don't want us to have what we're destined to have. And that will turn people against you every time, that sense of entitlement. But it's negative and it's wrong, but it was effective leadership at the end of the day.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think in most instances like you're talking that it has to do with that person being corrupted in the mind already, or they approach that with some malice, or is it the 6ix9ine theory? Is it the fact that you put a number on the ground, I see it as a 6, you see it as a 9, because you're standing on two different sides of it?
Usually when you get somebody to become corrupt, it's a perspective thing. Because somebody who's already corrupt doesn't need much edge. Now, they don't need much to be led in that direction, but they maybe need to be led in terms of carrying it out, right? Because there are corrupt people who just not good at execution. You know what I'm saying? They're not good at putting the plan together. So they need a leader to lead them in their corrupt deeds because they fail by themselves. But having somebody else who sets up the plan and gives them directives, now they could get the wickedness done. Like, you ever see somebody plot against somebody, right? Like, let's say, okay, we all tight, we all gang, right? And at some point, I decide I ain't rocking with Misha like that. But Misha's thorough, Misha's sturdy, and Misha has a high reputation. I can't do nothing to hurt Misha off rip without looking crazy. But if I can get you, and I can get somebody else who holds her in high esteem, and 3 more people who hold her in high esteem to start looking at her differently, now I could start to chip away at her. You know what I'm saying? Because now I've turned the sentiment. So now even somebody who already didn't like her, I could get these people that already didn't like her, but they were scared to move against her. Now we have a leader, somebody else. If we find somebody else who's as charismatic as she is, or is as potent as she is, but is diametrically opposed to her, oh no, we could go follow this leader now and get me out of here. That's how coups usually happen.
Wow. So is it more along the lines of your thought process, and is it more along the lines of we don't like Misha, or is it because I feel that she's not the right fit for the situation, or if I feel like she's dangerous? So I sit there and I look at, all the comics that you got. So I already know you're a diehard comic fan. And the first thing I think about is Thanos. The first
Right.
thing I think about is Thanos is because of the fact that, and they did a great job with, telling the story. It was very, very close to what they were doing in the comic books back in the day. Is the fact that his process was, I want to live in a fruitful and more
Balanced.
more balanced universe that actually helps the others around us. So the only way, in order to get that done, is to maybe take a step that all of you might not like. And he believed that he was right. In most instances, when we talk about Hitler, when we talk about Stalin, when we talk about a lot of these dictators of the past, the Genghis Khan, the Kublai Khans, all these guys, they honestly believed that what they were saying is correct.
Yes.
So my thing is also, that's the one thing that I always think about myself when we talk about a leader. It's like, yo, to us, our perspective, unless they told us like the Joker in The Dark Knight, he just says, I just want to see the world burn. That's a difference than somebody is saying, I want to literally make change, and you might not like the way that I make change. So that's the scary thing about it, is because the last thing that any of us ever want to be is on the wrong side of history. So I always say to myself, what if our right is actually wrong?
So a great example of that is we had he was our ward councilman, because I'm from DC. Right. I used to live in Ward 4. And I'm going to say his name because I don't like him or his protege, who is now the mayor. When he was ward councilman, Adrian Fenty was great. He was a great leader. He was doing and enacting change and, making a way for DC residents to have a better life, right? Mm-hmm. He became mayor, and then all of a sudden, it was a complete shit show. He was doing all of the things that your typical dirty politician does. So when people get in positions of power, does their perspective change because of this newfound power that they have via their leadership? Or is it something that's kind of always been there and they just needed the right segue to bring it out of it?
Yeah, that's
so I always, now granted, of course, there's going to be exceptions to every rule, but I always believe that power doesn't make you different. It brings out who you are.
See, that's what I said.
And it may not be the core essence of you, but there's something there, right? Like, take, for example, I come into power, right? There's going to be obvious things people expect me to do.
Right.
I'm gonna own my own comic book store. I'm gonna have my own basketball court. You know what I'm not gonna have? I'm not gonna have a freaky deaky bar. That's you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna have this palace where we do all these sexually out of pocket things. I'm not gonna have Epstein's Island. That's not gonna be me.
Right.
Just because I have the power to do it. Because that's not how I roll. However, if I'm somebody who has, I've been doing right, I've been faithful to my woman, and I never cheat, and so forth and so on. But you do like the ladies, then I'm going to have what's the word? Not a brothel. I'm going to have a harem.
Harem.
When I get that, when I get that paper, and when I get that power, at some point I'm gonna have a harem, because that may not be who I am every day in life, or even as I went to the top, I might have been able to push those temptations away. But now that I'm at the top, and I could go ahead and cherry pick, it's my vice, so I react to my vice. You know what I'm saying? Now, sometimes people allow that vice to take over and become their main thing because they can't get enough of it. But if you were a person, whatever it is, it's not going to make you do nothing. Like, I'm not going to end up cracked out. Like, I'm not going to end up on cocaine. You give me all the money in the world, and I promise you I'm going to die without ever having done a rail. Never going to hit a line, do a bump.
No booger sugar for you?
But I might get somebody assassinated, though. Like, you know what I'm saying?
you know the score on the internet, right?
I'm just saying that's why I don't need all the money in the world.
I feel like I need to hit you with the hype. This
I know,
will be on the internet. Please don't say nothing crazy.
But like,
my
you know what I'm saying? Like, I am gonna get somebody I don't like car repossessed.
Right. Yo, that's crazy.
See, and
that's gonna
for
be
me,
my abuse of power. That's gonna be my abuse of power. If that's my thing. If I abuse my power, that's gonna be the way I abuse it. And I'm not saying that everybody who gets in power abuses power, because some people truly have that discipline. They truly have that goal in sight, and they focus. Right. I'm not gonna stray from it. I'm not gonna abuse my power. Like he said earlier, I see this as a privilege, not a right. And as such, I'm going to respect my office.
Yeah.
But for those for anybody who abuses their power, they don't abuse their powers in ways that don't appeal to them. At some point, it might not be your biggest thing, but it had to be in here, or it had to be in here somewhere for you to go that route.
What if it's just a lack of emotional intelligence? Because that's what I'm thinking.
That's a big deal.
Whole time.
I'm thinking the entirety of it has more to do with the fact that these people, when they frontal lobe closed, they should have got an extra year or two. You know what I'm saying? Out of it because honestly, instead of 25, it might have been 30. You might have needed till 30. There's something that you're immature about. There's nothing. It's like when these things of trauma seep into people, they absorb them, and sometimes they have a way of muffling them and holding them down. So it's almost like when you drink and they say, it accelerates, it magnifies your personality. Bill Cosby said it one time. I know Bill Cosby saying something about somebody that drinks. That's the whole point.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So he said, he was like, yeah, but what if you're an asshole? And the crowd's laughing and cracking up. But guess what? Everybody that I know, that I know on a regular basis, I know exactly what type of drunk they are. The type of people that you want to hang out with, what type of drunk you are, if we drink, I know what you're like when you're intoxicated. Some people are pleasant, some people are loud, some people are obnoxious. And it's one of those things, I'm not a full believer that a drunk tongue speaks a sober heart. That whole cliche. I don't live by that. But what I will say is that there's a little bit of truth to some of it, and sometimes people utilize it and go overboard because they know that they're intoxicated. But to me personally, I just think the emotional side of it, man, people are very, very, they're browbeaten, they're hurt. There's a lot of pain behind them. So the one thing that I would suggest, though, if anything, is to take yourself out of situations that actually will turn you into that person. So, for instance, I asked my cousin, come out, we doing guy trips. I'm like, yo, come on, cuz, we out. My cuz says, nah, I ain't coming. I'm like, well, what you mean? He's like, I'm not going. He's like, because he was like, you know what? I don't even want them type problems. He's like, I feel like that if I go, you're going to go places where there are beautiful women. I'm married. I don't trust me in that situation. And he'll say it in front of his lady. And I'm sitting up there looking at him like, I wouldn't do that. But at the end of the day, it's one of those situations that says, it lends itself to saying, all right, if you know you, you know you. To me, that's a form of emotional intelligence. If you say, I want to keep myself away from that.
I said earlier, being true to yourself, knowing who you are and being honest about that up front. And, going back to the top of your point, the biggest issue with people that have those abusive power instances is they lack empathy as a leader, because they just care about themselves. They can't really, see themselves and the people that they're leading, because now they're self-absorbed. So that's one of the biggest things as a leader. If you don't have empathy and sometimes sympathy, I think you end up not being the best leader you can be. And yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at your cousin for being honest. I mean, it's like anyone that's on a diet.
Yeah.
You or go on a health journey, fitness journey, whatever, because I hate to use those words. But if you're trying to do better health-wise, and your friends keep saying, oh, well, brunch on Sunday, and you have to say, hey, look, that don't align with my meal plan. That don't align with my fitness goals. I can't go because I know I'm going to want the bottomless mimosas. I'm not going to eat the breakfast salad. I'm going to want the breakfast brunch buffet. So sometimes, again, if you're not leading yourself well, you can't lead other people well. So, I mean, kudos to your cousin. I mean, he's a little crazy for standing in front of his lady. But she probably knows him as well. And she's probably like, at least he honest with me. At least I know what's what. And that's probably why he gets to keep leading her, because he keeping it real. And I just feel like if more people were like that, they probably would be a little more inclined to follow folks. Like, because if you keep it 100 with me, you letting me make the decision if I want you to lead me in any type of direction. But when you're not honest, I don't know where you lead me to, and I'm going to be skeptical of your leadership.
So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
While Nah is away real quick, as a lady, is when we talk about relationship leadership.
I was waiting on this.
Huh?
I said I was waiting on this.
No, because I think you had mentioned something as being a part of it, and I'm pretty sure he'll navigate it, any way he sees fit.
Leadership.
Yeah. See, my thing is that I think that I think there are different types of leadership.
It is.
I do, and I think that when we start talking about relationship leadership, I think there's a stigma that's put on it because there's an expectation that's out of control, especially as of late. Like, I hate the stereotypes. I hate the stereotypical idea of it. I hate the fact that it's always a thought that, okay, if the gender role is this, then I should be led like this, or, the cliche thoughts of, oh, well, I will follow the correct leader or somebody that leads me the correct way. It's like, me personally, I think that I'm one that believes in many cases, in 90% of the cases in life, you get to choose the people that you love and the people that you're around, but a lot of times you don't get to choose who leads you. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Because at the end of the day, because I think that they have to prove something to you in order for you to even feel like you can be led by them.
Yes.
So you don't get the chance to choose them, because if that was the case, then if that was the case, that a handsome man would walk up to a woman and say, "You follow me," he could be a bum. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't really choose. You don't really understand it until later on, and I think that a lot of time that's where we come into, it's a catch-22. And go ahead, what you saying? You're saying, I'm sorry.
No, carry on. I want you to finish that point, because that was a good point.
Yeah, no, I mean, because I just honestly think that it's a big deal, because I don't think that there's any one way to lead. I don't think that there's any one way in a relationship for somebody to say, I need to follow in a particular fashion. I don't think that it's almost like saying that I need to be loved in a particular way, or because at the end of the day, we can speak. I'm 41 years old. Who I am at 41 is not who I was even at 37. Let alone, I've been married for 18 years and been together for 23. We are not the same people.
Yeah.
And you can even, in the role of certain things, you could even say leadership can be challenged. This is a whole different. There's a whole array of things that go along with, saying that somebody's a leader in a relationship. And to me, it's just, I don't know. I just don't like it being put as plain and simple as, the stigma: lead, I'll follow, we go. I just, that to me, that I've seen it. I've seen it not work. And then there was something that I said at the show to Mama Nah. What I say at the show, we were talking about money, power, respect.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I said it to be a contrarian, but I meant it. I meant it though, man, because I've seen it in way too many facets not work in the other two's favor. Yeah. I've seen a person with all the power in the world that nobody respects. I've seen a person with all the power in the world broke. And I've seen somebody, I've seen that be the case on both ends. The one thing that I know for a fact Like what did Chris Rock say? Lie to me, Jerry, lie to me. You know what I'm saying? Like honestly, you can lie to somebody with money because that money begets power. You know what I mean? And that power begets respect, whether it's fake or not. They don't respect Donald Trump, but the money he has led to power, and somebody is willing to tackle him to take a bullet, whether it was a real bullet or not. It's hope for them. But I mean, that's just, you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? So I don't know. I just, like I said, I just go for the things that are tangible, because you never really know a human being's true feelings.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to hit on everything you made point on in asking me the question. So now what he asked me is, how do I feel about leadership in relationships as a
No, I was
female?
tapped in. Go ahead, kick it.
Okay. Oh, so you can hear. So first things first. I'm not sure if you're familiar with my antics on this podcast, but I am not the traditional female. I'm cut from a different cloth that they do not make anymore. And it was rare.
Here we go. Okay.
So
run it down for me. I'm listening.
No, I don't believe in a gender role thing, first of all, because I mean, in life, we all have to be domesticated in some way because I mean, I've been with my husband for 18 years, married for 13.
Right.
I expect homeboy to have wash his own clothes, been able to cook food, clean his own spot, and all of that kind of stuff. Just because I'm a woman, I'm supposed to do all those things? No, we're a team, right? So that's why I don't believe in gender roles, because it's like one day I might got 80, you got 20. One day we might be 50-50. The other day you might be 100 because I'm on 0. So as a team, we leading each other, right? So as far as a man leading me, I have no problem with that. As long as we've had a conversation, you've asked me questions about where the hell we going, how we going to get there, and what your leadership looks like in this moment. Because much like you said, to hit another point, we evolve and change over time. Yeah, now, Reed can tell you I am not the same person I was when he met me, when I was dating his bro, because my husband and him are good friends. They went to college together. I'm a completely different person. My husband will probably tell you she's not the same person she was when I met her, vice when we got married, vice through things in our relationship, vice now. I probably didn't evolve like 4 or 5 times in learning through my leadership, because sometimes I have, gotten, as I would say, pushback about my form of leadership, because I'm the oldest mentality. You do what I say because I know better than you. I'm leading by example. And sometimes my examples weren't always the best ones for me to be leading people by. So for me in a relationship, I don't feel like it's like, okay, I got married, I'm just following your lead. We're going to do everything you say, because I'm the type of person that's going to challenge you. Hey, listen, let's stop and have a conversation about this, because it's looking kind of crazy. I just want to get an understanding so I know where we're going, because when it's not going where it's supposed to go, as your better half, I have to be able to tap you on the shoulder. Hey, this is not where we said we were going. We are going down the wrong path, and we are heading toward a cliff. So let's come on and bring it back. And to me, it's like, if you are a good leader, you're going to allow me to communicate those things to you. You're going to be able to, like I said, have that empathy and listen and understand where I'm coming from and recalibrate yourself. So another point you made was, people with money really don't, they're not respected. They don't have power, and that's the problem with society now. A lot of women want to be led by a man with money, but just because you got money, what you said, you're not a good leader. I know people that got big money and they fuck it up every single day. So in a marriage, if you making 6 figures but cannot account for where your money is going, and we can't buy simple necessities, we can't handle simple bills, are you being a good leader? Because no, you're not being a good steward over your money, which is something that we need in this partnership for you to be able to lead me where we are going, and vice versa. So it's just a lot that goes into that. But we know that women say, hey, I need a man with money. And one of the episodes we did, I can't think of it off the top of my head right now, but what I said was, it was a Tyler Perry episode. I don't need a man that makes more money than me. If you making less than me, but you handling all of the shit that I don't want to handle, you leading and doing the things that you said you was going to do, I don't care if you're making $60,000 because I don't mow grass, I don't take out the trash, and I don't put gas in my car. Thank you for being the leader that's going to take care of those things that you know I don't want to do. So I think people need to kind of recalibrate their mind about what leadership looks like for them, because I feel like it's situational. It's based on your situation with whomever you're with that you are trying to allow, or have lead you. So
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, leadership and relationship has definitely become a toxic conversation.
Very toxic.
Because of popular podcasts, because of memes, because of hurt that people have carried for generations, and things that haven't even happened to people, but they've watched happen to other people. So it's definitely a more nuanced conversation than most would like. I'm a person who believes in gender roles to an extent, right? I believe that those gender roles, as me said, because we've evolved as people, those gender roles don't necessarily have to be as concrete as they were for your grandparents or your parents.
Right.
Your gender roles are going to look different, but nonetheless, there are certain things that you're going to expect from a female, certain things you're going to expect from a male. I always say at the end of the day, I'm not even comfortable with any woman I know being with a man where if something goes bump in the night, she got to go get her gat and go check the door while he sleeps in his bed.
Oh, who do that? Now that's a
But
little.
that's a gender role. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times we're quick to throw out gender roles, but there are certain things that still uphold across the board.
Right.
But because we think of the ones that's popularized, right, and used to create arguments and conversations, we want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. And it's not so. I expect that man, if he's with my sister, if I see my bro go with my sister and she has to touch every door, me and him have a problem. Her husband can't go with us and she has to pull every door, or I have to pull every door for her. I'm going to bump him and be like, excuse a second, sis. And I got to talk to bro. You good? She did something to you, bro?
Right.
She bit the tip. Like, what's going on, bro? Why are you acting like this? Because as a man, and as you my man, you know, close enough for me to call you a brother, you're the godfather of my first child. So we link like that. So clearly I expect manly behavior out of you. So if I see it, whatever goes on in your household that I can't see, I can't speak on. But if I see you behaving in a manner that I think is ill befitting of your role as a man, guess what? I'm bothered by it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a problem. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there are certain roles that's attached to. If I see a woman who does not take care of her child, I'm going to look at her crazy.
Right.
If she can't be at all nurturing to her child, not at all. You got no compassion or empathy for your child as a mother. That looks crazy to me. I got questions.
You got to remember, some women out here having babies for the person that's leading them because they don't really want them, but that's what the person that they're following wants.
But again, like I said, I have questions. It's not to say that people don't do these things, because there are men who don't lead in their roles, right? There are men who, as I said, like, you'll see the girl that got to carry all the weight. The woman got to carry all the weight. There are situations where, yes, in a household, she got to go check the door. And he's sitting there, she tap him and be like, baby. And he like,
Yeah.
No,
I understand.
Ain't your non-loaded? Go see. And he stays asleep. I see dudes sit in the passenger seat while they girl. I just saw it the other day. I was at the market. This man in the passenger seat chilling. She went and got all the groceries. We end up going to the same gas station. She get out pumping the gas.
Yeah,
to me, sacrilege.
So
blasphemy.
Here's the funny thing about but I agree with you. Here's the funny thing about everything that you're saying, right? I've seen it in so many different elements, and it actually leads me to a thought process that I have all the time too. The reason why in leadership and in relationship situations why we're all mixed up is because there are there's different tiers to it. There's levels to the
Yes.
shit. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
you start
Yes.
talking about the young girl who might be dealing with Dexter St. Jock, King Dingaling over there and whatnot, and has uplifted him to a certain situation where he feel like he ain't really got to do extra shit. So therefore, she do stuff like running a market, and guess what? He ain't got no money to do nothing anyway. But because he knocking the bottom out of it and whatnot, she deals with these things on a regular. She's stigmatized. So then you have for the other instance of whatnot, the man that is really doing all that's necessary, or no, what should I say? The man is doing the bare minimum. He's doing the extreme bare minimum and whatnot. He's doing what he's got to do in certain situations, and she's not asking for any, too much extra. She just wants you to make sure that you are at bare minimum. She loves you. She wants to be a part of that. Cool. But you're coming up short. You know what I mean? You're coming up short, and it's minimally short. There's nothing major. It's minimum short. Then you got the situation where it entails, and this is sticking up for a man's side of things, where the man is bringing everything he's capable of, but the goalpost is always moving. And there's something there's something to be said about that as well. You can't expect somebody to lead if you're always dictating where you should go and why you should get there and what time you should be there and who all gonna be there when you get there. This is something that happens in long-term relationships.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes.
And some people don't have an understanding. Like I said, I've been married for 18 years. I'm not the same person I was when when we got together when I was 18. You know what I mean? It's completely and utterly different now. But here's the thing: as people grow and people evolve, my biggest thing about leadership in relationships, and now you can steer it anywhere you want to after this. I just wanted to, ask how y'all feel about it, because both of y'all are married as well. And whatnot. When is the time limit on for better or for worse?
There's no time limit on better or for worse. It's about what you can handle.
Right.
It's your threshold. It's not a time limit, it's a threshold, right? Because as much as we would like to stand on for better or for worse till death do us part, there are unfortunately situations where death gonna do your part really soon. If you stay there.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody's part.
Because either somebody gonna get chalked out or somebody's body is going to fail on them. They're gonna have a stroke. They're gonna get in a car accident. They're gonna get hit by a car crossing the street because the stress has them so taken off. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely no time stamp on that. And like you said, even speaking to that last portion of where, the man is capable of leadership, but he's with a woman who either refuses to be led or doesn't know how to be led, because that's the thing too, right? Like as a coach, I know there's such a thing as being not coachable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in real life, we see it in our jobs. That employee that is unleadable, the one that bucks at authority simply because authority exists. You're there for a purpose. Nobody forced you to go there, mind you. You chose to go there, just like you chose to be with this person in this relationship, right? And they are capable of leading you, and they're in that position, but simply because you either cannot or will not, for lack of a better word, y'all, submit to your leadership.
Somebody don't like that word. That word is just,
no, it doesn't bother me at all.
I'm about to say she and I, she's good. She and I have had this conversation. By the way, submission and protection episode of 2 Kings 215. That's a throwback. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Tap in with that where we had that conversation with two young ladies back when me and my former co-host A.C.E. But yeah, so just that refusal, right? It makes it hard. Now you got to write this person up all the time, or you got to fire that person. And so it happens in a relationship. The best move at some point, even in a marriage, the best move at some point becomes either, however you want to phrase it, either you want to say you quit the relationship or you fired your spouse. Like Either way, you have to go your separate ways now before
Yeah.
things get really nasty and dangerous. Because that's what
Yeah,
happens.
that's important.
When you stay in bad marriages for too long, things legitimately get dangerous, yo. Whether we talking
Right.
about violence or whether we're just talking about what it does to you mentally,
Yeah,
spiritually, and emotionally, how it breaks you down.
right.
It's
Yeah, that's true.
dangerous at that point.